Company of Heroes 2 makes it easy to forget that war is hell by making it into a gorgeous, tactically challenging real-time strategy game. True, it's a little tougher to get excited about fighting for the lesser of the evils on the Eastern Front of World War II than it was for leading the American charge to Berlin. But the new Soviet Red Army distinguishes itself, both in a tough but not particularly innovative campaign and on the multiplayer battlefield. This is an excellent and refined version of an already outstanding RTS.
Yes, we had to win, but did it ever matter to you how we won?
We did what we had to. I did what I had to.
It's not a big graphical leap forward from the original, but Company of Heroes 2 is easily one of the best-looking real-time strategy games ever made. Its incredibly detailed art, fiery explosions, and dense smoke are all absolutely top-notch. The Russian countryside looks fantastic, even as it's being torn apart to the tune of a Soviet-era orchestral score. Intricate animations make each of the nameless soldiers on the field feel lifelike, and even their thickly accented voice acting is strong. It's made more palatable by the story, which frames the war as a tale of good men fighting for their homeland. Even so, the Soviet commanders come off as nearly as monstrous as the Nazis they're fighting. It's not exactly uplifting, even if it is well acted.
Units awaiting orders.
Because it's so similar to the original, Company of Heroes 2 is a great game for all the same reasons. More than most RTSs, it's about smart tactical positioning to make use of cover and exploit weak tank armor. And because armies are rarely more than a dozen units at a time, it has a slightly slower, more methodical pace, even though there's almost always lots going on. The German army here is a tweaked version of what we saw in Company of Heroes, but the new Soviet army has a freshly unique style that reflects the manpower advantage they had in the war. The two biggest new ideas here are true line-of-sight vision, which allows for much better use of ambush tactics, and the snowstorms that can freeze infantry to death if they're left out in the open too long. Both reward micromanagement and open up lots of new possibilities for multiplayer. I have to question the viciously powerful flame weapons, though. I can't call them imbalanced because they're easily countered if you can see them coming, but they're so lethal to infantry that they have a negative effect on the pace. Usually Company of Heroes gives you an opportunity to retreat your soldiers if you're caught off guard, but flames can burn multiple squads to a crisp in the blink of an eye. That happened to me a few times during the Soviet campaign missions, which are generally well made and a good challenge. On top of the campaign though, Company of Heroes 2 includes a good chunk of solo and co-op challenge missions. Some of those are really rewardingly tough and intense, and the AI always puts up a good fight. To extend the life of the multiplayer community, developer Relic has built in an extensive metagame around leveling up your profile. As a rule, I dislike unlockables in RTS games, because really people who have played a ton generally don't need a lot of earned buffs to beat me. Most of these unlockables, at least, seem pretty harmless. They're barely perceptible bonuses to unit power or build times that would likely only make a difference in high-level play when everyone's leveled up anyway, and some cool vehicle skins. Filling out your profile page with dozens of medals and ribbons at least gives you something to keep playing for. For a sequel that's arrived 7 years after the first Company of Heroes, Company of Heroes 2 is a lot more like the original than you might expect. But since the original is one of the most amazing real-time strategy games ever made, that's not a disappointment. Just think of this as a giant, content-packed expansion. Relic has produced a lot more of its beautiful and tactical warfare, and it's built it to last. For more on Company of Heroes 2, check IGN.